On this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone, we're going to talk more about Tuesday Wrestling. We had Impact Wrestling's right after Rebellion. We got AEW Dark, and of course, a little throwback match by NWA where Colt Cabana faces Nick Aldis, who became the newly crowned NWA champion. So let's get started with this episode. So welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone. I am J-Rod here. So today's topic is going to be interesting. So it's again Tuesday Wrestling. So we had a lot of great wrestling. Just going to give you guys up to speed. I will continue to do more of the Wednesday Night War. I'm still trying to compile with the MLW Super Series it did with AAA. Try to get more information on what's been going on with other promotions. And of course, to give you guys the good news, it appears that AEW did have some crowds going, into having Dynamite, so it's great. So let's get started with Impact Wrestling. Alright, so it started out with the quick recap from the 2 weeks of Impact Wrestling. What happened, of course, we saw a newly crowned X Division champion. Of course, Michael Elgin is trying to declare himself as the new Impact Wrestling champion due to the fact that Tessa wasn't there and all this and stuff. But let's start out with how the event started out. It started with Sami Callihan talking about how he never tapped out, where the ref just called out saying, it was over, he was done, and all this and that. And he calls out Ken Shamrock. And of course, Ken told him he is one tough son of a bitch. And it's true, he took it out really great, and he did tell him that I knock out people, I even made people tap out. He explained who were the people who tapped out. There was The Rock, Big Show, and I can go on. And he was willing to show him respect, but he did gave him two options. One, continue with the rivalry as always, or focus on the one thing they should gain for themselves. Now they know that this is a tough challenge, and that is getting the Impact World Championship. But that little respect was interrupted by Michael Elgin. Now Michael Elgin has been living with the delusions of grandeur, believing he should be the champion. He felt that Tessa was too much of a coward to show up. No. And all this and that. So he felt that he is the truth, that he should be the one facing Tessa for the title, and everybody else gets in the back of the line. But of course, no one cares, because the problem is Michael Elgin did not get what he wants. But I'll get to that in a little bit. Or well, let's just do it right now. So they already announced. You know what? I'll get to that in a little bit. Just let's move. So it ended like that, and then we have Willie Mack, who is now the newly crowned X Division champion. Now, in Rebellion, in that four-way match between Suicide, Chris Bay, Rahit Raju, and of course Trey, Chris Bay won the match, and he called out that he deserves to get an X Division championship match. Willie Mack, on the other hand, had no problem giving him what he wants. So he was like a fighting champion. He wants to prove that, okay, you want a title shot? I'll give it to you. So originally it was supposed to be Chris Bay versus Willie Mack for the X Division Championship. But I'll get more into that in a little bit. And then we go to a tag team match between OVE's Jake Chris and Mad Fulton versus Triple XL. Now this one was a big match. Basically, you already have Fulton, who's this huge dude, you know how it is. And then you got XL, two huger dudes. It's like cannonballs ready to shoot at you. Not being discriminated. I'm just pointing out that's what it looked like. but Triple XL proved that they are a well-functioned tag team champions, or should I say tag team group, and hopefully down the line we can see them um, getting a title shot for the Impact Tag Team Championships against the North. But we'll get to that when we cross the bridge when that happens. Then we they gave us a little throwback, a flashback moment of the week. This was from Victory Road versus Victory Road 2009. Mick Foley versus Kurt Angle was for the title. Kurt Angle won that one. I think I might have seen it. I can't remember. It's just been a long time. I think like almost 10 years ago. And then we had this little segment that Madison Rain and that dummy Johnny Swinger put out called Locker Room Talk. So their first guest was um, Jessica Havoc. Now, if y'all recall Rebellion, there was a woman named Leviathan, or whatever her name is, someone that Havoc knew. And Madison asked her, why is she there? And Havoc says she has no clue. But Madison thinks in her mind she does know. And then she brought in another someone from her past, and that is Kimberly. And of course, Havoc doesn't like people from her past, whoever she pissed off or whoever got in her way or whatever. And it's already been announced next week she's going to face Havoc. Kimberly versus Havoc. That's going to happen next week. And then we had the Deaners. Of course, Jake Deaner, he's somewhere in Canada trying to be an isolated, living in some weird place, while cousin Jake is, no, Cody Deaner. Cody's in Canada. And cousin Jake, he's still trying to deal with a little problem with Joseph P. Ryan, better known as Joey Ryan. And of course, it was like more of a rematch for what happened at Rebellion. It was an interesting matchup. I really enjoyed it. But I have that feeling that this rivalry between Ryan and the Deaners is far from over. Because despite the fact that Joseph Ryan is trying to cancel the Deaners, it's not happening. He couldn't even beat, no matter how many times he will, but Jake will get his hands on him when he lost. He lost twice against Ryan. Then we had an interesting match that Sleazeball Johnny Swinger shows up facing against a TNA original, Suicide, and I'm excited to see that. It's very interesting to see, and of course Johnny Swinger tried to weasel his way to win the match, but it didn't work. Of course, Suicide, he was able to get a victory out of this. I'm still trying to find out who is the current Suicide, because the last person was Caleb Conley. You may know him from NWA. Appears and maybe this is someone new. I'm not sure yet. Hopefully they can explain who it is. But I'm happy that it was Suicide at 1. Then Kiera Hogan shows up, a little video package that they put out about her history and all this. It's like she was still pissed off knowing that she lost against Kiera Hogan. No, I mean Kylie Ray at Rebellion. Like, she doesn't know what to do. She thought everything was going according to her plan, but it didn't work. But we'll just see what's going to happen down the line with her. Okay, so we had a little interview with Moose. Now, Moose in Rebellion comes out with the TNA World Heavyweight Championship that was supposed to be in storage. But originally that title was supposed to be used for the TNA reunion that was supposed to be taking place in at WrestleMania week. Moose, on the other hand, was very vocal about how he feels that TNA has been talking too much, like people were talking about it, that people should stop and shut up. And he thinks he's the real champion because he won it, but the truth is he didn't. That title has not been active ever since the company changed names. We all know TNA was originally known as NWA TNA, then TNA Impact, then Global Force Wrestling, then Impact Wrestling. But he thinks that he's the true champion, and that's how it is. And we are having now wrestlers who are like Michael Elgin and Moose who believe they have delusions of grandeur, but Josh Matthews told him that there's a tournament for the Impact World Champion. Now he feels that's a disrespectful and disgusted way to do a number one contender. That title, it doesn't mean nothing anymore. He thinks that his title means more. So I don't know what's gonna happen, but I have that distinct feeling Tess is not gonna be pleased. She's gonna come back claiming she's the true champion and get in Moose's face. And I have that feeling there's gonna be that winner take all type of match, because that's how it always goes. And then we had the North at this place called the Battle Arts Academy, where they face these jobbers called the Creeps. It was more of a fun match. I don't know. It was kind of interesting, kind of like something we seen on a movie or cartoon show. But of course they won't. Then we had Rosemary being Rosemary, reading the cards. We don't know what she was talking, but something's about to happen. We're not sure. And then Rohit Raju heard that there's probably trying to find out who's going to fill in for Moose for the number one contendership. So he thinks this could be a perfect timing for him since the Desi Hit Squad are no more. Now the main event is the X Division Championship, but before we get to that, Ace Austin put out a little something saying that he feels that Chris Bay had no business getting involved in the X Division, but he called out a shot saying that he had no right to do that. This should have been him versus Willie Mack for the title since he does have the right for the rematch clause. And of course, the match was great, triple threat match. I was like hoping maybe Willie Mack could continue with him as a title run, and sadly, but frankly, it did. It was a good match. I'm not gonna lie, but we still don't know who will be coming for the X Division title because we now know Ace Austin has already put his rematch clause on, and he blew his chances. He could have waited, but no, he was arrogant, decided to, that he wants the title back now instead of waiting. But it happened. So that's what happened for Impact Wrestling today. There will be more stuff coming up soon, but let's continue on with AEW Dark. So we're here with AEW Dark. I enjoy watching AEW Dark, even though things have been changing ever since the pandemic, but there's still some good matches. The first match, well, they had three matches. First match was a guy named Ryan Piles. He was facing against Dark Order member number 10, being accompanied by Brody Lee. Now, this one is an interesting match. I know some people don't like squash matches that much, but I think this is a better way to introduce a character that's going to play an important role with the faction. Like number 10, we don't know who he is, but of course, it's already been talked that it's Preston Vance, that he felt that his life has been turned into a living nightmare and all this and that. So he had a job to do to win the match, but trying to gain the approval of Mr. Brody Lee, the Exalted One. And the more Brody Lee was looking at number 10, how he was taking care of business, he was enjoying it. Brody Lee is like acting as the boss who's saying, I want results. And that's what he did. So number 10 really impressed him, but there were some 2 moments or 3 where he kind of messed up. But Brody Lee knows he's willing to do whatever it takes. So number 10 really, really impressed him. I think we might see more of number 10 down the line. And hopefully we'll see more on what they're going to do with him down the line in the future. Maybe, hopefully he'll be one of the guys who could get the TNT Championship, because we could see Brody getting the big title. That's one of those assumptions we can picture. And the next match was Captain Sean Dean versus Sammy Guevara. He did make his debut in AEW a few weeks ago, and that match was alright, but Sammy won the match. That's how it goes with Sammy. So I'm just gonna skip because I kind of forgot him out. But the main event for Dark was Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford versus Colt Cabana. Now, this was more of a payback match in the story. If you all recall, a couple weeks ago, right when the pandemic happened, they were in Daly's place. Penelope Ford was part of a four-way women's match, which she lost. But Tony Schiavone did talk to Colt Cabana and told him what he thought of the match. And he did say that Penelope Ford really is very athletic. He pressed her, but he said that she should just drop Kip Sabian, and he didn't like what he said, and he just slapped him. So he was about to get his revenge on him, and this is what the match was about. This is payback for Kip. Uh, Even though Colt Cabana really did a great job doing some of his favorite tricks, backing away when someone tries to do a flying move. Even though Penelope Ford tried to distract the match, which it worked, but I had that feeling that this is far from over between both Cabana and Kip Sabian. I'm excited for what's going to happen more with AEW, so we'll talk more about them on the Wednesday Night War episode coming up next, and we'll see from there. So we're going to continue on with the episode, and we're going to end it with NWA Throwback Match right now. Right, so we're ending this episode with a throwback match. Uh, this one was produced by NWA. This was never televised, but it was thrown in due to the fact that NWA Power hasn't been showing up, or the Crockett Cup was suspended. So this was a match that I saw. There was clips I saw of this about Nick Aldis' history. Um, this one was where Colt Cabana went to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which was once affiliated with NWA until now. Billy Corgan bought the promotion and separated themselves away from that company and now going on their own. Nick Aldis won the title already, and he was going to put the title on the line in China. And the opponent that he's going to face was Colt Cabana, a two-time NWA World Championship. This was an interesting match. Practically, it was good. Of course, you have the clown versus the guy who's more serious. Um, there were some great moments in this match where Colt was tried to pull up some of the stops because he knew what kind of person uh, Nick Aldis can be in the wrestling ring, and that's one of the things about him that we enjoy, and it was good. I enjoyed it, and of course that match continued on where Nick Aldis continued to be champion, and that how led more to Nick Aldis continue on to be as the champion from the time he won it from Tim Storm, lose it to Cody, then won it back from Cody, and so on and so on. But this took place in China, but I don't think this was a promotion by OWE, or should I say Oriental Wrestling Entertainment. I think this was just a self-promotion, because I think China are still trying to get used to having wrestling there, because the only promotion there is OWE. So that's about it. So I will continue more with episodes, so stay tuned for more stuff that we're going to have in the future. Like I said, I'm working on the DWZ discussions, where I'm going to do the Japanese Wrestling Edition. 3 topics will be in place. I'm still working on them, so please be patient. Let you guys know I'm back on the podcast. Kind of give the heads up what's been happening. I will try to put more podcast time so you guys can to enjoy it. So you can find me either on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a few others I'm having that I forgot to put out, but you can find me. So it's DWZ with J-Rod. So you can find me there. So I must bid all of you adieu. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.